The grocery bags slipped from my fingers before I could even scream. Oranges, rolling across my hardwood floor like they had all the time in the world. Canned soup crashing, bread squishing under the weight of everything else. But I wasn't looking at any of that. I was looking at her. Jessica. Sprawled across my bed like some kind of magazine model. Her shoes, those expensive heels I could never afford, still on. Dirt streaking across my white duvet. The duvet I'd washed by hand just yesterday because the laundromat charges extra for large loads. Her red nails, perfectly manicured, always perfectly manicured, traced the embroidered flowers on my pillow. My pillow. The ones that came with the bed I'd saved 3 months to buy. Mom. David's voice came from the doorway. Flat, distant, like he was reading off a script. I couldn't breathe. What? What are you doing? Jessica smiled. That smile. The one I'd learned to recognize over the past 2 years. The one that said she'd already won before I even knew we were fighting. Trying out your new bed, she said, stretching like a cat. It's even more comfortable than it looked online. Get off. My voice came out weaker than I wanted, shaking. Get off my bed. Actually, Mom. David stepped into the room, his phone in his hand, his eyes fixed on the screen. Not on me. Never on me anymore. We need to talk about that. My heart dropped into my stomach. Talk about what? Jessica sat up, swinging those dirty shoes onto my floor. David and I are redoing our guest room, for when his colleagues visit. We need a bed that makes the right impression. I stared at my son. David? He still wouldn't look at me. His thumb moved across his phone screen, scrolling, tapping, doing anything to avoid my eyes. Jessica's right, Mom. Their current guest bed is pretty old and... So buy a new one. The words burst out of me. Buy your own bed. We looked. Jessica stood, smoothing down her designer dress. The kind that cost more than my monthly groceries. Nothing in stores has this quality. Not in our price range. Our price range. They lived in a 4-bedroom house in the suburbs. David made 6 figures at his consulting job. And she was talking about price range? This bed is mine. I stepped forward, my foot crushing an orange, juice seeping into my sock. Cold, sticky. I saved for 3 months. And it's beautiful, Mom. Really. David finally glanced up. Half a second. That's all I got. But you live alone. You don't need a bed this nice. Jessica and I, we entertain. We have guests. It makes more sense for us to have it. The room tilted. Just slightly. Like the floor wasn't quite level anymore. Makes more sense? Look. Jessica walked toward me, her heels clicking on my floor. She put her hand on my shoulder. I could smell her perfume. Expensive. Always expensive. We're not taking it for free. We'll give you their old guest bed. It's still perfectly functional. You'll barely notice the difference. I'll barely notice. Mom. David's voice sharpened. Don't make this difficult. Don't make this difficult. My son. My baby boy. The one I raised alone after his father died. The one I worked 2 jobs for. The one I went without dinner for so he could have lunch money. Telling me not to make this difficult. When did you decide this? I asked quietly. Jessica and David exchanged a look. That look. The one married couples share when they've already discussed something 100 times, when they're a team, when you're the outsider. We've been thinking about it for a few weeks, Jessica said. Ever since you posted that photo on Facebook. The photo. I'd been so proud, so stupid, and proud. I'd posted a picture of my new bed with the caption, "Treated myself for once." 43 people liked it. My son and his wife saw it and decided to take it. You can't, my voice cracked. You can't just take my bed. We're not taking it, Mom. We're exchanging. David was back on his phone. I already called the movers. They'll be here in 20 minutes. We'll have them swap the beds. You won't have to lift a finger. 20 minutes. The words hit me like ice water. You already called movers? Jessica smiled again. It's already decided, Mom. Mom. She called me Mom, like she had the right, like she was family instead of the woman who was stealing my bed while my son looked at his phone. I wanted to scream, to shove her away from my bed, to call the police, to do something. But I just stood there, frozen, watching my daughter-in-law sit back down on my bed, and my son scroll through his phone like he was checking the weather. 3 months. 3 months of skipping lunch, of walking to work instead of taking the bus, of doing alterations at the tailor shop until midnight because Mrs. Kim paid cash under the table. 3 months to buy myself one nice thing, one thing that was mine. And in 20 minutes, it would be gone. I need to. I bent down, started picking up groceries, anything to not look at them. I need to put these away. Sure, Mom. David's voice brightened, relieved. The movers will handle everything. You don't even need to be here if you don't want. If I didn't want. Like this was a choice. Like any of this had ever been my choice. I carried the groceries to the kitchen. Eggs cracked, bread crushed, everything ruined. Through the window, I saw a truck pulling up. White, professional, Hanson's Moving Company, printed on the side in blue letters. 20 minutes. He'd said 20 minutes. It had been 5. They were already here. This wasn't a decision. This wasn't a discussion. This was an ambush. I walked back to my bedroom. David was helping Jessica off the bed, helping her like she was something precious. The movers were already coming through my front door. 2 men in blue uniforms, carrying straps and blankets. This the one? The older mover asked, pointing at my bed. That's it, David confirmed. Not my mother's bed. Not could you give us a minute. Just, that's it. I pushed past them, walked to the bed, put my hand on the carved wooden bedpost. My fingers found the familiar grooves, the pattern I'd traced every night before sleep, the wood smooth and warm and mine. Ma'am? The mover was waiting. Jessica stood by the door, arms crossed, victorious. David was already walking out, probably to show them where the old bed was, the one I was supposed to be grateful for. I leaned close to the bedpost, close enough that only Jessica could hear me. You have no idea what you're taking, I whispered. For the first time since I'd walked in, her smile faltered. Just for a second. A crack in that perfect mask. What's that supposed to mean? She asked. But I was already walking away, past the movers, past my son, out of my own bedroom. Behind me, I heard the sounds of furniture moving, of my bed being dismantled, of my one nice thing being taken apart and carried away. And Jessica's voice, higher now, tighter. David? What did she mean by that? I smiled. Let her wonder. Let her worry. Because that bed held more than just the memory of 3 months' sacrifice. It held a secret. And in a few hours, when they got it home and really looked at it, they were going to find out exactly what they'd taken from me. I sat at my kitchen table, staring at the crushed groceries I couldn't afford to replace. $63. That's what was scattered across my counter, half of it ruined. And I only had $42 left in my checking account until Friday. But none of that mattered now. The bed was gone. I closed my eyes and saw my hands. 3 months ago, November, the cold already settling into my bones, making my arthritis flare up something fierce. Mrs. Kim had cornered me after my shift at the tailor shop. You look tired, she'd said in that blunt way of hers. More than usual. I'm fine. You're not eating lunch anymore. Don't think I don't notice. I'd shrugged. Tried to smile. Saving money. That's all. For what? And I'd told her. About the bed I'd seen online. Solid wood, hand-carved posts. The kind of bed that looked like it belonged in a real home, not a widow's tiny rental. $1,500? Mrs. Kim had whistled. That's expensive for sleeping. It's not about sleeping. She'd studied me for a long moment, then nodded. I have alterations. Wedding season coming up. You want extra work? Extra work meant staying until midnight some nights. My fingers cramping around needles, my back screaming from hunching over silk and satin and tulle. But I'd said yes. I said yes to everything. Mrs. Kim's alterations, the neighbors' mending, taking in hems and letting out waists and fixing broken zippers for anyone who'd pay cash. $10 here, $20 there. crumpled bills smoothed out and counted late at night under my kitchen lamp. December came. I stopped taking the bus to work, started walking, 40 minutes each way, in the cold, in the dark, my knees aching with every step. But that was $12 a week saved, $48 a month. I stopped buying coffee, started reusing tea bags 3-4 times until the water barely changed color. I shopped the discount rack at the grocery store, the dented cans, the bread that was day-old, the vegetables that were starting to go soft. My coworker Linda noticed. "You feeling okay? You're looking thin." New diet. I'd lied. But the truth was simpler. Breakfast was toast, lunch was crackers from the dollar store, dinner was whatever I could make from rice and beans and the cheapest cuts of meat. One meal a day that actually filled me up. That was the rule. Because every dollar I didn't spend on food was a dollar closer to that bed. At night, I'd open my laptop, the old one that took 5 minutes to start up, and look at the bed, the product photos, the reviews. Best purchase I ever made. You won't regret it. Worth every penny. I'd run my finger across the screen, tracing the carved headboard, the elegant posts, imagining it in my bedroom instead of the saggy mattress on the metal frame I'd had for 15 years. My husband used to talk about beds. "Someday," he'd say, usually on Sunday mornings when we were still tangled up in our cheap sheets, "I'm gonna buy you a bed fit for a queen." "I don't need a bed fit for a queen." "Yeah, you do." He'd kiss my forehead. "You deserve nice things. Soon as I get that promotion, first thing I'm buying is a proper bed." But the promotion never came. And neither did the bed. He died on a Tuesday. Heart attack at 53. Dropped dead in the grocery store parking lot. The funeral took what little savings we had. Then came the medical bills, the credit card debt he'd hidden from me, the second mortgage I didn't know existed. By the time I'd buried him and paid off what he owed, I had nothing. 14 years of nothing. Of that metal frame and saggy mattress, of making do, of surviving instead of living. Until 3 months ago, when I decided I was done waiting for someday. January 15th, I'd counted the money for the 100th time, smoothed out the bills on my kitchen table, made little piles. $1,473. $27 short. I'd sat there, staring at those piles, wanting to cry. So close, so damn close. Mrs. Kim found me the next morning, still at the table. "You didn't go home?" "I am home." She looked at the money, at my face, then reached into her purse and pulled out $30. "No," I'd said, "I can't. It's not charity, it's a bonus. For good work." She'd pressed it into my hand. "Buy your bed." I'd cried then, right there in the shop, ugly crying, the kind that makes your whole body shake. And that afternoon, I'd placed the order. The bed arrived on a Saturday. 2 delivery men carried it up my stairs in pieces. They assembled it while I hovered, watching every screw, every bolt. When they left, I just stood there, staring at it. My bed, mine. I'd run my hand along the headboard, the smooth, polished wood, the carved flowers and vines that wound up the posts. It was more beautiful in person, more real. I'd climbed onto it fully clothed, lay down on the bare mattress I hadn't even bought sheets yet, spent all my money on the frame, and touched the wood above my head. "I did it," I'd whispered to the ceiling. To my husband, wherever he was. I bought myself a bed fit for a queen. And then I'd found it. The compartment. My hand had brushed against a slight groove in the bedpost. Different from the carved design, I'd pressed it, and a small panel had clicked open. A hidden compartment, about the size of a paperback book. The bedmaker hadn't mentioned it in the description. Maybe they didn't know. Maybe it was intentional. A secret space for secret things. I'd stared at that empty compartment for a long time. Thinking. Remembering. My husband had kept secrets. Money secrets. Debt secrets. Things he never told me until it was too late. But I had a secret too. One I'd carried for 14 years. One I'd never told anyone, not even David. The letter. I kept it in a lockbox under my bathroom sink, in a waterproof envelope. My husband's handwriting on the front, for emergencies only. He'd given it to me 2 days before he died, pressed it into my hands after dinner, his face serious. "Don't open this unless you absolutely have to," he'd said. "Promise me." "What is it?" "Insurance. That's all. Just keep it safe." I'd promised. And I'd kept that promise, even after he died, even when the bills piled up and the debt collectors called and I had nothing. Because opening it felt like admitting he was really gone, like accepting that the emergency had already happened and I'd missed it. But last week, something changed. David came over. He and Jessica had just bought new furniture, expensive stuff, leather couches, marble countertops, a chandelier for their dining room. "Must be nice," I'd said, trying to sound happy for him. "We work hard, Mom. We deserve nice things." We deserve nice things. Like I didn't work hard. Like my hands weren't raw from sewing. Like I hadn't raised him alone after his father died. That night, I'd taken out the lockbox, pulled out the envelope, and I'd opened it. Inside was a letter, my husband's handwriting, shaking near the end, like he'd written it in pain. "To whoever finds this, the truth about the family fortune." I'd read it 3 times, then 4. My hands trembling. The next morning, I'd put the letter in the hidden compartment in my bedpost. Safe, secret, waiting. I'd run my fingers over the closed panel, feeling it click shut, and I'd smiled. Because if anyone ever took this bed from me, they'd get more than they bargained for. Now, standing at my kitchen window, I watched the moving truck pull away, my bed inside, Jessica and David following in their car. Jessica looked back at me through the window, that triumphant smile plastered across her face. She had no idea. No idea what she'd really taken. No idea what was hidden in that bedpost, what truth was waiting to be found. My husband's letter started with those words. "To whoever finds this, the truth about the family fortune." And it ended with something that would change everything. I touched the window glass. Cold. Final. "Enjoy the bed, Jessica," I whispered. "Enjoy it while you can. Because secrets have a way of coming out." And this one? This one was going to destroy her. I didn't sleep that night. How could I? My replacement bed, their old bed, smelled like someone else's life. The mattress sagged in the middle. The frame squeaked every time I moved. But that wasn't what kept me awake. It was the waiting. I lay there in the dark, staring at the ceiling, wondering how long it would take. How long before Jessica's curiosity got the better of her? How long before those red nails found that hidden compartment? My phone buzzed on the nightstand. 2:47 a.m. A text from David. "Mom, can we talk tomorrow? Jessica is upset." I stared at those words. Jessica is upset. Not "I'm sorry for taking your bed." Not "we made a mistake." Just Jessica is upset. I turned off my phone. Around me, my bedroom felt wrong. Empty, like something vital had been ripped out and the walls knew it. But this room had felt wrong for a while now, hadn't it? I sat up, turned on the lamp, and looked at the space where my grandmother's mirror used to hang. The nail was still there, the outline of the frame visible in the paint cleaner where the mirror had protected the wall from years of dust and sunlight. Jessica had taken that mirror 2 years ago. "I'm borrowing it for a party," she'd said, her and David already wrapping it in blankets. "It's perfect for our entryway, very Instagram-worthy." That was my grandmother's, I'd protested weakly. "I know, that's what makes it so special. Don't worry, you'll get it back." I never got it back. It hung in their entryway now. I'd seen it last time I visited. Jessica had put LED lights around it, stuck inspirational quotes on it with vinyl letters. Live, laugh, love. My grandmother had survived the war with that mirror, carried it across an ocean, passed it down to my mother, who passed it to me. And now it had vinyl letters stuck to it. I got out of bed, walked to my dining room. The china cabinet stood against the wall. Half empty now, glass shelves with gaps like missing teeth. My mother's china set, service for 12, delicate white plates with blue flowers hand-painted around the edges. Jessica had asked to borrow them for Thanksgiving 3 years ago. "Just 8 place settings," she'd said. "I want to impress David's boss. You understand, right? You want David to do well at work." Of course I did. What kind of mother wouldn't? I'd packed them carefully, wrapped each piece in newspaper, wrote instructions for washing them, hand wash only, never the dishwasher. She'd returned 4 place settings. "Oh my God, Mom, I'm so sorry," she'd said, not looking sorry at all. "The caterer broke some, but don't worry, I'll replace them." She never replaced them. And the 4 place settings she did return had dishwasher damage. The blue flowers faded, the gold trim worn away. I ran my finger along an empty shelf. How had I let this happen? How had I become this person, this mother, who just stood by and watched while her son's wife stripped her life away piece by piece? The answer was simple. Pathetic, but simple. I was afraid. Afraid that if I said no, if I fought back, I'd lose David completely. Better to lose my things than lose my son. Except I'd lost him anyway, hadn't I? I walked back to my bedroom, pulled a shoebox from my closet, the one I kept in the back, under my winter sweaters. Inside were photos, old ones. David as a baby, as a toddler, as a gap-toothed kid grinning at the camera. There was one of him at 8 years old. His father had just died. David was wearing his Sunday clothes, sitting on my lap, and even though he was trying to smile for the camera, I could see the sadness in his eyes. I'd held him that day, promised him I'd take care of him, that we'd be okay, just the 2 of us. "I'll always protect you," I'd whispered into his hair. And I had. God, I had tried. 2 jobs, sometimes 3. Coming home so tired I could barely stand, but always. Making sure he had clean clothes, hot meals, help with homework. When he wanted to play soccer, I'd scrimped and saved for the fees, the cleats, the equipment. When he got accepted to college, I'd taken out loans I was still paying off. Every dollar I had went to him. Every sacrifice I made was for him. And now? Now he helped his wife rob me. I put the photos away, closed the closet. My phone was buzzing again. I turned it back on without thinking. 3 more texts from David. "Mom, please. Jessica found something. Call me now." My heart jumped into my throat. She'd found it. Already. I sat on the edge of the terrible replacement bed and stared at my phone. Part of me wanted to call back immediately, to hear the panic in her voice, to know that she'd opened that compartment and read those words. But another part of me, the part that had been silent for too long, wanted to let them stew. Let them wonder. Let them worry. Let them feel, for once, what it was like to be powerless. I set the phone face down on the nightstand. The sun was starting to come up, gray light filtering through my curtains, another day beginning. Another day in this life I'd somehow ended up in. This small life, this quiet, diminished life where my own son called movers behind my back and his wife smiled while taking everything I loved. But not anymore. I thought about my husband's letter, the words I'd memorized after reading it so many times. "To whoever finds this, the truth about the family fortune isn't what everyone thinks. The money they all fought over after I died, that was nothing. The real account, the one my father left me, I kept hidden. $400,000. I never told anyone, not even my wife at first, because I saw what money did to my family, how it turned them into vultures. But before I died, I told her. I told her where it was and what the conditions were, and I made her promise to test our son, to see what kind of man he'd become. Because I was afraid, God help me, I was afraid I'd raised him to be weak, to let others walk over him, to choose the wrong person. So here's what I want. If David passes the test, if he shows strength, loyalty, protects his mother, the money is his. But if he fails? If he lets his wife disrespect the woman who sacrificed everything for him? Then the money goes elsewhere, to charity, to strangers, to anyone but them. This bed is the final test. If they take it, if they take this one thing she saved for, this one piece of herself, then they've failed, and they deserve nothing. $400,000. hidden in an account my husband's family didn't know about, that the debt collectors never found, that I'd kept secret for 14 years, just like he'd asked. Waiting for this moment. My phone buzzed again, and again, and again. I picked it up. 7 missed calls from David, 12 texts. The last one made me smile. "Mom, what does the letter mean? What money?" "Call me." I typed back slowly. "I'm sleeping. Talk later." Then I turned off my phone again. Let them panic. Let them drive themselves crazy trying to figure it out. Because Jessica had taken that bed, thinking she'd won, thinking she'd gotten away with it one more time. But what she'd actually done was trigger the very thing my husband had set in motion 14 years ago. The test was over, and they'd failed. I lay back down on the terrible replacement bed, springs digging into my back, the smell of strangers in the pillow. But I was smiling, because in a few hours, I'd call them back. I'd go to their house, and I'd watch Jessica's face when I explained what that letter really meant. Watch her realize that by taking my bed, she hadn't just stolen furniture. She'd stolen her own future. The phone started ringing at 7 a.m. I let it ring. Made myself tea, the cheap kind from the dollar store that tastes like hot water with regret. Sat at my kitchen table and watched the sun come up properly. My phone kept buzzing. Calls, texts, voicemails piling up. I took a sip of tea. Waited. At 7:45, someone started pounding on my door. "Mom! Mom! Open up!" "David." I took another sip, set down my cup, smoothed my robe. Then I walked to the door and opened it. My son looked like he hadn't slept, hair sticking up, still in yesterday's clothes, eyes wild. "What does the letter mean?" he said before I could even say good morning. "What money? What test?" Behind him, parked crooked in my driveway, was his car. And sitting in the passenger seat, I could see Jessica, arms crossed, face pale. "Good morning, David." "Don't." He stopped, took a breath. "Mom, please." Jessica found something in the bed, a letter from Dad. It talks about money, a lot of money. And it says, his voice cracked, it says you knew, that you've known for years. "Would you like to come in?" "Mom." "Or we can talk out here. Let the neighbors hear. Your choice." He glanced back at Jessica. She was staring at us. Even from here, I could see her jaw clenched tight. "Fine," he said. "Inside." I stepped back, let him in, watched him pace my living room like a caged animal. "Where is she?" I asked. "In the car." She wanted to come in, but I thought. He ran his hand through his hair. "I thought maybe we should talk first. Just us." How thoughtful. "Mom, please, just tell me. Is it real? Is there really $400,000? I walked to my kitchen, poured him a cup of tea, brought it back to the living room. He didn't take it. "Answer me." "Yes," I said simply. "It's real." The color drained from his face. He sat down hard on my couch. $400,000, he whispered. "All this time, while you were living like this, while you were—" He looked around my apartment, at the worn furniture, the peeling wallpaper, the carpet with stains I couldn't afford to clean. "Why?" "Because your father asked me to wait." "Wait for what?" "For you to show me who you really are." The words hung in the air between us, heavy, final. David's face went through a dozen emotions: confusion, anger, understanding. Then anger again. "A test," he said flatly. "You tested me. Your father tested you. I just followed his instructions. By living in poverty? By struggling? By watching you skip meals and walk to work in the winter?" His voice rose. "That was a test?" "No." I sat down across from him. "That was my choice. Your father left instructions about the money, conditions. But how I lived while I waited, that was mine." "That's insane." "Is it?" I met his eyes. "Your father was dying, David. He had 2 days left, and he knew it. And you know what he talked about in those 2 days?" David didn't answer. "You. He talked about you, about how proud he was, but also how worried." I paused. "He was afraid he'd made you too soft, too easy to manipulate. So he set up some elaborate trap? He set up a choice. He left money, more money than we ever had when he was alive, and he made rules about who could have it. Simple rules. What rules? I stood, walked to my bedroom, pulled out the lockbox from under the bathroom sink, opened it. Inside was a copy of the letter. The original was in the bedpost, in Jessica's house now, but I'd made copies. Of course I had. I handed it to David. He read it, his hands shaking. And as he read, I watched his face. The part about the hidden account, his eyes widened. The part about the test, his jaw tightened. The part about the bed being the final proof, he went pale. When he finished, he just sat there, staring at the paper. If David passes the test, if he shows strength, loyalty, protects his mother, the money is his, he read aloud. But if he fails, if you fail, it goes to charity. I finished. Your father was very specific. He even named the charities, children's hospitals, cancer research, organizations that actually help people. And taking your bed. David's voice was barely a whisper. That was failing? What do you think? He looked up at me. And for the first time in years, I saw my son really saw him. Not the man Jessica had shaped. Not the stranger who chose his wife over his mother, but the boy I'd raised. The one who used to cry when other kids were mean. Who'd bring me flowers picked from the neighbor's yard. Who'd once used his allowance to buy me a birthday card. I didn't know, he said. Mom, I swear, I didn't know it meant that much to you. You didn't ask, Jessica said. Jessica said it made sense. Jessica said I didn't need it. Jessica said a lot of things, David, and you listened to all of them. He flinched like I'd slapped him. Outside, a car door slammed. Footsteps on my porch, fast, angry. The door flew open. I'd forgotten to lock it. Jessica stood in the doorway. Still in yesterday's clothes, too. Makeup smeared, hair wild. She looked like a different person. $400,000, she said. No greeting, no pretense. There's really $400,000. Jessica, David started. Shut up. She walked into my living room like she owned it. I want to hear it from her. I looked at her. Really looked at her. The designer clothes rumpled now, the perfect nails chipped, the mask finally cracking. Yes, I said. There's $400,000. And you've had it this whole time. While David helped pay your rent, while we bought your groceries, while you played the poor, struggling widow. I never asked for your help. You never refused it either. Would you have preferred I did? I asked calmly. Would you have preferred I told you no, I don't need your charity. I have hundreds of thousands hidden away. Yes. Jessica's voice went shrill. Yes, I would have preferred that to this manipulation. Like the manipulation you used to get my bed? You knew it meant something to me. You saw my post. You knew I'd saved for it, and you took it anyway. It's a bed. It was my bed. The room went silent. Jessica's face was red, blotchy. She looked at David. Say something. What do you want me to card? Say? That this is insane. That your mother is crazy. That we're getting that money. David just stared at the letter in his hands. David! Jessica grabbed his shoulder. The letter says if you pass the test, the money is yours. So we passed. We didn't know about the test, but we passed. We get the money. We took her bed, Jessica. So? We didn't know. We took her bed. David stood up. We took the one nice thing she had, the one thing she saved for. We had movers scheduled before we even told her. We planned it behind her back. His voice broke. How is that passing any test? Jessica's face changed, the anger flickering. Something else underneath. Fear. But we didn't know, she said again. Quieter now. We didn't know about the money, about any of it. How is that fair? Fair? I laughed. It came out bitter. You want to talk about fair? Was it fair when you took my grandmother's mirror and never gave it back? When you broke my mother's china and never replaced it? When you've spent 2 years treating me like an inconvenience while my son just watched? David, tell her. Tell her what? David's voice was flat now, dead. That you're right? That Mom's wrong? He looked at Jessica. Really looked at her. "Do you even remember what you said when we took the bed?" Jessica went still. "You said it's already decided, Mom. You called her Mom while you were stealing from her." "I wasn't stealing." "What would you call it?" Jessica opened her mouth, closed it. Her eyes were shining now, tears threatening. "I just wanted." She trailed off. "What?" I asked. "What did you want, Jessica?" "Nice things," she whispered. "I just wanted nice things." The confession hung in the air. David made a sound. Not quite a laugh, not quite a sob. "So did she," he said quietly. "My mom wanted nice things too, and she saved for 3 months to get one thing, one bed, and we took it in 20 minutes. Jessica wiped her eyes, mascara smearing. "So what happens now? We failed the test, so we get nothing? Is that it?" I looked at both of them. My son, his wife. Both of them broken in different ways. "I don't know," I said honestly. "Your father left instructions for if you passed, but he didn't leave any for if you failed. I think he couldn't imagine you failing." "But I did," David said. "I failed him. I failed you." He looked at me. "I'm sorry, Mom. I'm so sorry." "Sorry doesn't give me my bed back." "I know." He stood up, walked to the door, stopped. "Jessica, go wait in the car." "David." "Now." Jessica looked between us, then grabbed her purse and left. The door closed behind her with a soft click. David turned back to me. "The bed. You can have it back. Today, I'll bring it myself." "And then what?" "I don't know." He looked so tired. So much older than 32. "But I'm going to figure out who I am, who I'm supposed to be. Because this person, the one who just took your bed, I don't like him very much." He left. I heard his car start, drive away. And I sat alone in my living room, holding the copy of my husband's letter, wondering if I'd just won or lost. Because they'd found the letter, they knew the truth. But what they didn't know, what I hadn't told them, was that the letter wasn't the only thing my husband had left behind. There was more. So much more. And they were about to find out just how deep this went. They brought the bed back 3 hours later. David carried the pieces himself. No movers this time, just him, sweating, struggling with the weight. Jessica sat in the car the whole time, staring straight ahead, not looking at me, not helping. I stood in my doorway and watched my son carry my bed back up the stairs, piece by piece, the headboard, the footboard, the side rails. "Where do you want it?" he asked, breathless. "Where it was before." He nodded, started assembling it in my bedroom, his hands fumbling with the bolts. He'd never been good with tools. His father used to joke about it. "All brains, no hands," he'd say fondly. I watched from the doorway. Didn't help, didn't offer advice, just watched. When he finished, he stood back. The bed looked the same as before. Perfect, beautiful, mine again. Except something was different. David was staring at the bedpost, the one with the hidden compartment. "Is it still there?" he asked quietly. "The letter? Did you take it out?" "Jessica did. She has it." Of course she did. "Then no," I said. "It's not still there." David ran his hand along the carved wood, found the groove, pressed it. The little panel clicked open. Empty now. He closed it again. "Dad really thought of everything, didn't he? Your father was a planner." "Was he?" David's voice caught. "Was he right? About me being weak?" I didn't answer right away. Because the truth was complicated. The truth was that yes, my husband had seen something in David that worried him. A softness, a need to please, a tendency to bend instead of stand. But he'd also loved him. God, he'd loved him so much it hurt. "Your father was afraid," I said finally. "Afraid that when he was gone, you wouldn't have anyone to teach you to be strong, to stand up for yourself, for the people you love. So he left money with conditions, to force me to prove myself, to give you a reason to try." David laughed bitterly. "Well, I failed spectacularly." "Yes," I agreed. "You did." He flinched, but he didn't argue. "The money," he said after a moment. It's real? You really have access to $400,000? I do. Where is it? In an account your father set up, with a lawyer. Everything very official, very legal. And the conditions, they're real too? If I failed the test, it goes to charity? I hesitated. Because this was the moment I'd been both dreading and anticipating. That's what the letter says, I answered carefully. David caught the tone, looked at me sharply. But your father wrote that letter when he was dying, in pain, on medication. His handwriting was shaking by the end. So? So the letter was his wishes, his hopes, but it's not legally binding. The words landed like stones. David went very still. What? The actual trust, the legal documents, those are different, more complex. How different? I walked to my closet, pulled out the lockbox again. This time, I removed a thick manila folder, the one the lawyer had given me 2 years ago when the trust finally became active. I handed it to David. He opened it, started reading. His eyes moved faster and faster across the pages. Legal language, clauses, conditions. This says, he looked up at me. This says the money is already yours, completely, with no conditions. Yes. But the letter was your father's wish, not his will. The actual trust transferred everything to me after a 12-year waiting period. That period ended 2 years ago. David's face went through a series of expressions: confusion, relief, then confusion again. So the test, it wasn't real? Oh, it was real, I said, just not legally binding. Your father wanted me to decide. He trusted me to know if you deserved it or not. And you decided to test me anyway. I decided to wait, to watch, to see who you'd become without the safety net of money. David sat down on my bed, his head in his hands. This is insane, he muttered. This whole thing is insane. Is it? I sat down next to him. Your father died when you were 18, left us with nothing but debt. And I watched you, David. Watched you struggle through college, through your first job, through finding Jessica and building a life. And for a while, I was proud. For a while? Until you changed. Until Jessica started taking things and you let her. Until you stopped seeing me as your mother and started seeing me as, I don't know, an obligation, a burden. I never thought you were a burden. Didn't you? I asked softly. When was the last time you called me just to talk? Not to check up on me, not to drop off groceries you thought I needed, but just to talk, to hear my voice. David didn't answer. Because he couldn't. The bed was the final straw, I continued. When you called those movers. When you stood there with your phone and couldn't even look at me. When Jessica called me Mom while taking the one thing I'd saved for. I paused. That's when I knew your father was right to worry. So what happens now? David's voice was barely a whisper. You have the money. You have the power. What are you going to do with it? I stood up, walked to the window. Outside, I could see Jessica still sitting in the car, her face in her hands now. I don't know, I admitted. Your father wanted me to reward you if you passed, give you the money, set you up. But he also said if you failed, I should give it away. Let you make your own way. What do you want? The question surprised me. What did I want? I'd spent so long thinking about what my husband wanted, what David needed, what was fair, what was right. But what did I want? I want my son back, I said quietly. Not the money, not revenge, just my son. The one who used to bring me dandelions and call them flowers, who cried at sad movies, who promised he'd always take care of me. Behind me, David made a sound. When I turned around, he was crying. Not pretty crying, ugly, gasping sobs, the kind that shake your whole body. I'm sorry, he choked out. Mom, I'm so sorry. I don't know what happened to me. I don't know when I became this person. I sat back down, put my arm around him. He leaned into me, like he used to when he was small, when the world was too big and scary and only Mom could make it better. I know when, I said softly. It was gradual, little choices, little moments of choosing the easy path instead of the right one, choosing Jessica's approval over your own conscience. She's not a bad person, David said. She's just selfish, I finished. She's selfish, David, and you let her be selfish because it was easier than fighting. I love her. I know. But love doesn't mean letting someone turn you into someone you're not. We sat there for a long moment. My son crying on my shoulder, me holding him, the bed beneath us solid and real, and finally back where it belonged. Eventually, David pulled away, wiped his eyes. What if I can't fix this? He asked. What if I'm too far gone? Are you? He looked at me, really looked at me. No, he said finally. No, I'm not, but it's going to take work. Time. I need to. He stopped. I need to figure out who I am without her telling me. Does that mean? I don't know what it means. David stood up. But I know I can't go back to how things were. I can't keep living like that, letting her take what she wants. Watching her hurt you, pretending it's okay. He walked to the door, stopped. The money, he said. I don't want it. Not now. Maybe not ever. I need to know I can make it on my own. Without Dad's safety net. Without you bailing me out. David, keep it. Use it. Live the life you should have been living all along. He smiled sadly. Buy a better bed if you want. Buy 10 beds. Just promise me you'll stop living like you're still paying off Dad's debts. I promise. He nodded, then left. I heard him get in the car, heard voices his and Jessica's, raised, angry. Then the car drove away. I stood at my window and watched them go. My phone rang. Unknown number. I answered. Hello? Mrs. Chen? A man's voice. Professional. This is Robert Patterson, your late husband's attorney. I've been monitoring the situation as per the trust requirements. I understand your son has been made aware of the account? Yes. And? And he doesn't want it. Not now, anyway. There was a pause. I see. Well, the trust does have provisions for that scenario. The money remains yours to distribute as you see fit, including the option to dissolve the trust entirely and simply keep it. Keep it, I repeated. $400,000. Mine. Not my husband's, not David's, not part of some test or condition or game. Just mine. Mrs. Chen, are you still there? Yes, I said. I'm here. And Mr. Patterson? Yes? I want to make some changes. To the trust. Is that possible? Absolutely. What kind of changes? I looked at my bed, at the empty compartment in the bedpost, at the room that finally felt like mine again. I want to split it, I said. Half for David, but he doesn't get access until he's really proven that he's the man his father hoped he'd be. You'll help me set up checkpoints, goals, real ones, not tests, not games, just measures of character. And the other half? I smiled. The other half is mine. To live on, to finally stop working myself to death, to maybe, for once, buy nice things without feeling guilty. That sounds reasonable. One more thing, I added. The half I'm keeping, I want to take out $20,000, right away. For what purpose? I'm going to give it to Jessica. Mr. Patterson made a surprised sound. The daughter-in-law? The one who triggered all of this? Yes. May I ask why? I thought about Jessica's face in the car, the tears, the fear, the realization that she'd gambled everything on material things and lost. Because she needs to know that kindness isn't weakness, I said. And that family means forgiving people even when they don't deserve it, even when they've hurt you. You're a remarkable woman, Mrs. Chen. No, I said. I'm just a mother, and sometimes mothers have to teach the hardest lessons of all. I hung up. Outside, the sun was setting, orange and pink light spilling across my bedroom. My bed glowed in it, beautiful, perfect, mine. And hidden in the bedpost in that secret compartment was an empty space. A space that had held my husband's letter, his test, his fears. But now, it held nothing. Just possibility. Just the future. And for the first time in 14 years, that future looked like something worth living for. The phone calls started the next morning. First David, then Jessica, then David again. I didn't answer. I was sitting at Mrs. Kim's tailor shop, hemming a wedding dress, when Jessica walked in. She looked different. No makeup, hair in a messy ponytail, jeans and a t-shirt instead of designer clothes. She looked younger, smaller, almost human. "Mrs. Kim said you'd be here," she said from the doorway. I kept sewing. "Did she? Can we talk?" "We're talking now." Jessica stepped inside. Mrs. Kim looked up from her cutting table, raised an eyebrow at me. I nodded slightly. She gathered her things and disappeared into the back room. Now we were alone. Jessica sat down in the chair across from my work table, watched me sew for a moment. "That's beautiful," she said finally, gesturing to the dress. "Thank you. How long have you worked here?" 15 years. Since your husband was in high school." She flinched at "your husband." Like the title hurt now. "I didn't know you were a seamstress." "You never asked." More silence, my needle moving in and out, the white fabric pristine under my weathered hands. "David left," Jessica said suddenly. My hand stilled. "What?" "Last night, after we got home, we had a fight, a big one, and he packed a bag and left." Her voice cracked. "He's staying at a motel, won't tell me which one, won't answer my calls." I set down the needle. "What did you fight about?" "Everything." Jessica's eyes were red. She'd been crying. The bed, the money, your grandmother's mirror, the china, every single thing I've ever taken from you. He just exploded. Said he didn't recognize himself anymore. Said I'd turned him into someone he hated. "And what did you say?" "I told him he was being dramatic, that you'd manipulated all of this, that the whole thing with the letter was a setup to make me look bad." She wiped her eyes. "And he said, 'You made yourself look bad. Mom just gave you the opportunity to show who you really are.'" The words hung between us. "He's right," I said quietly. "I know." Jessica's voice broke completely. "I know he's right, and that's what's killing me, because I didn't even realize what I was doing. I just saw pretty things and I wanted them, and I took them, and I never thought." She stopped. "I never thought about what it cost you." "No," I agreed. "You didn't." "My mother was the same way," Jessica said suddenly. Growing up, she always had to have the nicest house on the block, the newest car, the best clothes. And my dad worked himself to death trying to give it to her. Literally. He had a heart attack at 50. She looked down at her hands. "I swore I'd never be like her. And then I married David and he made good money, and suddenly I could have nice things, and I just became her anyway." I picked up my needle again, started sewing. "That's not an excuse," Jessica said quickly. "I'm not trying to make excuses. I wanted you to know that I see it now, what I've been doing, who I've become." "Does David know you're here?" "No. He'd probably be furious if he did." "Then why are you here?" Jessica looked at me directly for the first time. "Because I need to know if there's any way to fix this, any way to undo the damage I've caused. To him, to us, to you." "Why do you care what I think?" "Because you're his mother. Because he loves you more than anything, even if he forgot how to show it. And because—" She stopped, swallowed. "Because if you tell him I'm not worth forgiving, he'll listen to you." I tied off my thread. "Cut it. Set down the dress." "Is that what you want? For me to tell him you're worth forgiving?" "I want you to tell him the truth." "Which is?" "I don't know." Jessica's voice was small. "That's what scares me. I don't know if I am worth forgiving. I don't know if I can change. I just know that losing him, really losing him, is making me see things I should have seen years ago." I stood up, walked to the back room, came back with 2 cups of tea, handed one to Jessica. She took it, her hands shaking slightly. "The mirror," I said. "My grandmother's mirror. Where is it?" "In our entryway, with the stupid vinyl letters on it." "Can you get the letters off?" I think so. With some solvent, maybe." "Good. Because I want it back, properly cleaned, no damage." Jessica nodded quickly. Yes, of course. Today. I'll bring it today. The china. The pieces that survived. Those too. Yes. And anything else you've taken over the years. I want an inventory. A list. Everything. I'll make one. Jessica pulled out her phone, started typing. I'll make it right now. I'll bring everything back. I promise. I sipped my tea. That's a start. A start? Jessica looked up. What else? What else do you need? I need you to answer a question. Honestly. Anything. Do you love my son? Jessica opened her mouth, closed it. The question sat there between us. Heavy, unavoidable. I don't know, she finally whispered. I thought I did. When we got married, I thought I loved him so much it would kill me. But now I don't know if I loved him or if I loved what he could give me. The house, the lifestyle, the security. At least you're being honest. What good is honesty now? I've already destroyed everything. No, I said. You've damaged things. That's different from destroyed. Damaged can be repaired. Can it? Jessica's eyes were desperate. Can this really be fixed? I thought about my husband, about the years after he died, about the debt and the struggle and the loneliness that nearly swallowed me whole, about the day I decided to stop drowning and start swimming. That depends, I said, on whether you're willing to do the work, real work, not just returning my things and saying sorry, but actually changing who you are. I don't know how. Neither did I. I set down my tea. When my husband died, I was lost. I'd spent 20 years being his wife, David's mother. And suddenly I didn't know who I was without those roles. It took me years to figure it out, to become my own person. How did you do it? Therapy, a lot of therapy, and time, and sitting with the uncomfortable truth that I'd let myself disappear into other people's needs. I looked at her. You've done the same thing, just differently. You've disappeared into wanting things instead of being someone. Jessica wiped her eyes. That's a depressing way to put it. It's the truth. So what do I do? You start by being alone, I said. Really alone, not with David, not in your big house with all your pretty things. You figure out who Jessica is without any of that. David might not wait. No, I agreed. He might not, and that's the risk. Jessica stared into her tea. You know what's funny? I thought you were weak. All these years, I thought you were this sad little woman who let life happen to her, who didn't fight back, who just accepted everything. And now? Now I realize you're the strongest person I know. She looked up. You buried your husband, raised your son alone, worked yourself to the bone, saved for 3 months to buy yourself one nice thing. And when we took it, you didn't scream or cry or beg. You just let us take it. And then you destroyed us with a letter. I didn't destroy you. You made us see ourselves, Jessica said. That's worse. My phone buzzed. A text from David. Mom, where are you? I need to talk to you. It's important. I showed it to Jessica. He doesn't know I'm here, she said again. Should I tell him? No. She stood up. No, I should go. Let you talk to him. Whatever he has to say, he should say it without me hovering. Jessica. She stopped at the door. The $20,000, I said. Her face went confused. What? My husband's lawyer is preparing a check. $20,000. For you. Jessica's face went white. What? Why? Because you need it. To get therapy. To get space. To figure out who you are. I paused. And because family forgives. Even when it's hard. I can't accept that. You can. You will. Consider it an investment in my son's future. Because if you don't fix yourself, you'll destroy him. And I won't let that happen. Jessica's eyes filled with tears again. I don't deserve this. No, I agreed. You don't. But that's the point of grace. We don't give it because people deserve it. We give it because everyone needs it. She left without another word. I sat alone in the shop for a moment, then called David. Mom, finally. His voice was strained. Where are you? Mrs. Kim's shop. Where are you? Can I come there? I need to see you. Of course. He arrived 20 minutes later, still looked like he hadn't slept. But there was something different about him, something clearer. He sat down where Jessica had been sitting. I'm leaving her, he said without preamble. My heart stopped. David, I'm filing for divorce. Or separation. I don't know the difference yet, but I'm done. His voice was firm. Decided. I can't do this anymore, Mom. I can't be married to someone who treats you like garbage, who treats me like a wallet, who cares more about things than people. David, wait. I know what you're going to say. That marriage is hard. That people can change. That I should give her another chance. He shook his head. But I've been giving her chances for 2 years. And every time, she proves that she won't change, that she can't. She was just here, I said quietly. David's eyes widened. What? Jessica. She came to talk to me, to apologize, to ask how to fix things. And what did you tell her? The truth. That she needs to figure out who she is, that she needs therapy, that fixing this will take real work. Did she listen? I think so. David laughed bitterly. Great. So now she'll go to a few therapy sessions, cry a lot, and then go right back to who she was. I've seen this before, Mom. She's good at performing change, not so good at actually changing. Maybe. But she seemed genuine. She always seems genuine. That's her gift. David ran his hands through his hair. I'm tired, Mom. I'm so tired of trying to be enough for her, of watching her take things, of choosing between my wife and my mother. I just want it to stop. I reached across the table, took his hand. Then make it stop, I said. But not like this, not in anger, not while you're hurt and exhausted. Then when? When you've had time to think, to breathe, to figure out what you really want. I know what I want. I want out. Do you? I squeezed his hand. Or do you want her to be different, to be the woman you thought you married? David's face crumpled. I don't know. I don't know anymore. That's okay. You don't have to know right now. What if I never know? What if I'm stuck in this limbo forever? You won't be. Give yourself time, and give her time, real time. Let her try to change, and if she doesn't, if she can't, then you make your choice with a clear conscience. David looked at me. You're being very generous. After everything she's done. I'm being a mother. Your mother. And mothers want their children to be happy, even when it's complicated. I missed you, David said suddenly. I missed this. Talking to you. Really talking. When did we stop doing this? About 2 years ago, when I met Jessica. Yes. He was quiet for a long moment. I'm sorry, Mom, for all of it, for choosing her, for letting her hurt you, for taking your bed, for becoming someone Dad would be ashamed of. Your father wouldn't be ashamed. He'd be disappointed, but not ashamed. There's a difference. I want to be better. Then be better. Starting now. Not tomorrow. Not after the divorce. Now. David nodded, wiped his eyes. Okay. Where do I start? You start by forgiving yourself. Then you work on forgiving her. And then, I smiled. Then you help me figure out what to do with $400,000. For the first time in days, David laughed. Really laughed. That's right. The money. I keep forgetting about the money. Well, it's yours. Half of it anyway. When you're ready. I'm not ready. I know. That's why I'm keeping it safe until you are. We sat there together. Mother and son. The way it used to be. The way it should always have been. Outside, the sun was shining. People walking past. Life continuing like it always did. And inside, for the first time in years, I had my son back. Not fixed, not perfect, but mine. 3 days. That's how long it took for everything to fall apart. David stayed at the motel, Jessica stayed at the house, and I stayed in my apartment with my bed and my tea and my phone that wouldn't stop ringing. Day 1, Jessica called 12 times, left 8 voicemails, all of them variations of the same thing. Apologies, promises, desperation. Day 2. David called 6 times, wanted to know if Jessica had contacted me, if she seemed sincere, If I thought he was making a mistake. Day 3. Nothing. Silence. That's what scared me most. I was at the grocery store, actually buying food this time, not just the cheapest things I could find, when Jessica appeared at the end of the aisle. She looked worse than before. Dark circles under her eyes, hair unwashed, the same clothes she'd been wearing when she came to the tailor shop. "We need to talk," she said. I put down the box of tea I was holding. "I thought we already did." "Not here. Please. Can we go somewhere?" There was something in her voice, something that made me abandon my cart and follow her out to the parking lot. She led me to her car, a Mercedes, the kind I'd never be able to afford even with my husband's money. We sat inside, the leather seats perfect and cold. "David's not answering my calls," Jessica said. "It's been 3 days. He won't tell me where he is, won't see me, won't." Her voice broke. "He's really leaving me." "What did you expect?" "I don't know," I thought. She pressed her hands to her face. "I thought if I gave back the mirror, if I returned everything, if I made that list like you said, I thought it would fix things." "Did you make the list?" She pulled out her phone, showed me. A note. Pages long, every item she'd ever taken from me. Dates, descriptions, some things I'd forgotten about. A scarf, a cookbook, a picture frame. "Jesus, Jessica," I whispered. "I know." She was crying now. Really crying. I didn't realize until I wrote it all down. How much I'd taken, how long I'd been doing it. It's like I had this sickness, this need to collect pieces of you. "Why?" "Because you're real," she said simply. "Everything in my life is fake. The house we can barely afford, the furniture we bought on credit, the friends who only care about what brand bag I'm carrying. But you're real. Your things had history, had meaning. And I wanted that. I wanted to feel like my life mattered." I didn't know what to say to that. "I brought everything," Jessica continued. She gestured to her trunk. "The mirror, the china, everything on the list. It's all there. Cleaned, wrapped, ready for you to take back." "That's good." "Is it?" She looked at me. "Because it doesn't feel good. It feels like I'm dismantling my entire house, my entire life, and David still won't talk to me. He needs time." "How much time? Days? Weeks? Years?" Her voice went shrill. "How long do I have to wait before I know if my marriage is over?" "I don't know, Jessica. That's between you and David. But you could help. You could talk to him. Tell him I'm trying." "I could, but I won't." She looked at me like I'd slapped her. "Why not?" "Because this isn't my job. I'm not a referee in your marriage. I'm not a mediator. I'm the person you hurt. And you want me to fix things for you?" "No," I cut her off. "You want me to make this easier, to smooth things over, to tell David you're worth another chance. But I can't do that, Jessica. Because I don't know if you are. You said damaged things could be repaired." I said they could be. Not that they should be. There's a difference. Jessica's face crumpled. "So that's it? You're giving up on me?" "I'm not giving up on you. I'm letting you stand on your own." I opened the car door. "You wanted to know what to do? Here's what you do. You stop calling me. Stop asking me to intercede. Stop trying to use me to get to David. You figure out who you are without him, without me, without anyone telling you you're doing a good job." "I don't know how." "Then you learn. You find a therapist. You do the work. You sit with the uncomfortable truth that you might lose everything, and there's nothing you can do about it." I stepped out of the car. "That's the only way forward, Jessica. Through the pain, not around it." I closed the door. She sat there for a moment, then drove away. I went back inside, finished my shopping, bought the expensive tea this time, the kind that actually tastes like something. When I got home, there was a truck in front of my building. Jessica's truck? No. Different. A moving truck. My stomach dropped. I rushed upstairs. My door was open. Inside, 2 men were carrying boxes, and standing in my living room, directing them, was Jessica. "What are you doing?" I demanded. Jessica turned. Her face was different, harder, determined. Bringing everything back, like you asked. I didn't ask you to. You said you wanted everything. So here it is. All of it. She gestured to the boxes. The mirror, the china, the scarf, the cookbook. That weird ceramic bird you had on your mantel. Everything. I looked around. My small apartment was filling up with boxes. My things. Things I'd forgotten existed. Jessica, this is too much. No, it's not enough. She pulled out an envelope. And this is the list. Every single item. With receipts for repairs and cleaning, and a check. A check? For the things I can't return, the china pieces that broke, the scarf I accidentally ruined in the wash, her voice caught. The time I took from you, the peace, the dignity. I opened the envelope. Inside was a check for $5,000. Jessica, I can't accept this. You can. You will. She was crying again. Because you were right. About everything. About me being selfish. About me taking things that weren't mine. About me destroying your relationship with your son. Jessica. I saw a therapist, she interrupted. Yesterday, an emergency session cost me $400 we don't have. And you know what she said? I waited. She said, I have a shopping addiction, a hoarding problem, that I use material things to fill an emotional void. Jessica laughed bitterly. Like that's not the most cliché thing you've ever heard. But she's right. I steal things not just from you, from everyone because I'm empty inside. Because my own mother never gave me anything real, so I take, and take, and take. The movers finished. Left. The door closed behind them. Jessica and I stood in my suddenly crowded apartment. I'm checking myself into a facility, she said quietly. Inpatient treatment. For 30 days. For the shopping thing. For the anxiety. For whatever the hell is wrong with me. Does David know? No. I haven't told him yet. Because I need to do this for me. Not for him. Not to win him back. For me. I sat down on one of the boxes. That's brave. It's terrifying. She sat down too, on the floor, right there on my carpet. I might lose everything. David, the house, my whole life. But if I don't do this, I'll lose myself. And I think, she looked up at me. I think I already lost myself a long time ago. We sat in silence for a moment. Outside, I could hear traffic, life continuing, the world spinning on like it always did. The money, Jessica said suddenly. The $20,000 you're giving me. I can't take it. Yes, you can. No, it's too much. It's for treatment, I said firmly. For therapy. For 30 days in a facility, and whatever comes after, it's not a gift. It's an investment. In you. In David's future. In the possibility that you might actually change. What if I don't? What if I come out of there and I'm still the same person? Then at least you tried. And at least David will know you tried. Jessica wiped her eyes, stood up. I'm leaving tomorrow morning. The facility is 2 hours away. I'll be gone for a month. And when I come back, she stopped. If I come back to anything at all, I'll be different, I promise. Don't promise me. Promise yourself. She nodded, then did something unexpected. She hugged me. Tight, desperate, like I was the only thing keeping her from floating away. Thank you, she whispered, for not giving up on me, for being harder on me than anyone else ever has, her voice broke, for loving David enough to tell me the truth. Then she left. Just walked out of my apartment and out of my life. For now, anyway. I sat surrounded by boxes, my things, returned to me, all of them. I should have felt victorious, should have felt like I'd won, but all I felt was tired, and sad, and hopeful, somehow, despite everything. My phone rang. David. I answered. Hello? Mom. His voice was rough. Jessica just called me, told me about the treatment facility, about checking herself in tomorrow. I know. Did you tell her to do that? No, that was all her. Silence on the other end. David? I don't know what to do, he said quietly. Part of me wants to be there, to support her, to drive her to the facility and hold her hand and tell her it's going to be okay. And the other part? The other part wants to change the locks, file the papers, be done with all of this. Which part is louder? I don't know. He paused. What would Dad do? The question hit me hard. What would my husband do? The man who'd set up tests and conditions and elaborate plans, the man who'd been afraid his son wasn't strong enough, the man who'd loved so much it had killed him. Your father, I said slowly, would tell you that love isn't about being strong or weak, it's about choosing who to be strong for. What does that mean? It means you have to decide. Is Jessica worth being strong for? Worth waiting for? Worth believing in? I don't know if I trust her. Then don't decide now. Wait. Let her do her 30 days, see who comes back. And then, I paused. Then you choose, with a clear head and a clear heart. What if I make the wrong choice? Then you'll make it honestly. And you'll live with it. That's all anyone can do. David was quiet for a long time. Okay, I'll wait. But Mom? Yes? Will you wait with me? Will you? His voice cracked. Will you help me figure out who I'm supposed to be while she's gone? Tears filled my eyes. Yes, of course, always. I love you, Mom. I love you too, baby. I hung up, sat in my apartment full of returned things. And for the first time in 3 days, I smiled. Because whatever happened next, whether Jessica changed or didn't, whether David stayed or left, whether this family healed or shattered, at least we'd all be honest. At least we'd all be real. And sometimes, that's the best you can hope for. 27 days. That's how long Jessica had been gone when David showed up at my door with a box of donuts and a face full of questions. She called, he said, pushing past me into my apartment. Last night, from the facility. I closed the door. And she sounds different. Like, really different. He set down the donuts, didn't open them, just stared at the box like it held answers. She's been in group therapy, individual sessions, something called EMDR. She said she's been talking about her childhood, about her mom, about me. What did she say about you? David finally looked at me. She said she married me because I was safe, because I wouldn't leave her like her dad did, because I made enough money that she'd never have to worry. He swallowed hard. She said she never really saw me. She just saw what I could provide. I poured him coffee, the good kind, the kind I could afford to buy now. How did that make you feel? Angry, relieved, sad, all of it. He took the coffee. But the thing is, Mom, I think I did the same thing to her. What do you mean? I married her because she was beautiful, because she made me look successful, because having a wife like Jessica made me feel like I'd made it. He laughed bitterly. We used each other. Just in different ways. I sat down across from him. That's not love. No, but I think we could have gotten there, if we'd both been different people. Could have, I repeated. Past tense? David rubbed his face. She wants me to visit. Tomorrow, before she gets out, the facility does this thing, a family session, where they mediate and you talk about hard stuff with a therapist present. Are you going? I don't know. That's why I'm here. He looked at me desperately. Tell me what to do. No. Mom? No, David. I'm not going to tell you what to do, not this time. I reached across the table, took his hand. You're 32 years old. You've spent your whole life asking other people what you should do. Your father, me, Jessica, your bosses, everyone but yourself. Because I don't trust myself. Then it's time to start. I squeezed his hand. What does your gut tell you? Not your heart, not your head, your gut. David closed his eyes, sat there for a long moment. My gut says go, he finally whispered. My gut says at least hear her out, see who she's become, and then decide. Then go. He opened his eyes. What if she manipulates me? What if this is all just another performance? Then you'll see through it. You're not that naive anymore. I paused. And if you need backup, I'll go with you. David's face went soft. You'd do that? After everything she did to you? I'd do that for you. There's a difference. He was quiet. Then, did Dad really think I was weak? The question I'd been dreading. I could lie. Tell him his father had complete faith in him. That the test was just about the money, not about David's character. But I'd promised myself, promised both of us, no more lies. Your father thought you were kind, I said carefully, and he worried that kindness would be mistaken for weakness, that someone would take advantage of it, take advantage of you. Like Jessica did. Like Jessica tried to. But David, I waited until he looked at me. Being kind isn't weakness. Your father was wrong about that. Being kind is the hardest, bravest thing you can do. Especially when people don't deserve it. Is that why you're giving Jessica money? Being kind when she doesn't deserve it? Partly. But also because I remember what it's like to be lost. To not know who you are. To wake up one day and realize you've become someone you don't recognize. I thought about the years after my husband died. The debt. The darkness. And I remember what it felt like when someone gave me a chance to find myself again. Who gave you a chance? Mrs. Kim, when she offered me work at the shop, when she loaned me that $30 for the bed. I smiled. She didn't have to do that. I was just another seamstress. But she saw something in me, and she decided I was worth the investment. David nodded slowly. So you're doing for Jessica what Mrs. Kim did for you. Something like that. But what if it doesn't work? What if Jessica comes out and she's still the same person? Then at least we tried. And at least you'll know. I stood up. Come on, let's eat these donuts before they get cold. And then you're going to call that facility and tell them you'll be there tomorrow. What if I change my mind? You won't. How do you know? Because you're your father's son. And whatever else he was, your father never ran from hard things. We ate donuts, drank coffee, talked about everything and nothing. And the next morning, I drove him to the facility. 2 hours north. Through farmland and small towns. David silent the whole way, his knee bouncing, his hands fidgeting. The facility was nice. Nicer than I expected. A big house on a hill with gardens and walking paths. Expensive. The $20,000 I'd given Jessica wouldn't cover all of it, but it was a start. We checked in at the front desk. A woman with kind eyes and a clipboard led us to a small room. Comfortable chairs, a box of tissues, the kind of room designed for crying. And then Jessica walked in. I barely recognized her. No makeup. Hair natural. I'd never seen her natural hair color before. Jeans and a sweatshirt with the facility name on it. No jewelry, no designer anything. She looked younger, smaller, real. Hi, she said quietly, standing in the doorway like she wasn't sure if she was allowed to come in. Hi, David said back. Jessica looked at me. You came. David needed backup. I'm glad. I wanted. She stopped, looked at the therapist who'd appeared behind her, a middle-aged woman with gray hair and a gentle face. Why don't we all sit down? The therapist said. We sat. Jessica and David on one side, me on the other, the therapist in the middle like a referee. Jessica has some things she wants to say. The therapist began. David, your role here is just to listen. You don't have to respond. You don't have to forgive. You just have to hear her. Can you do that? David nodded. Jessica took a deep breath, looked at her hands. I stole from you, she said. Not to David, to me. Not just things. I stole your dignity, your peace, your relationship with your son. And I did it consciously. Even when I told myself I was just borrowing things. Even when I pretended I didn't know what I was doing. Deep down, I knew. I didn't say anything, just waited. My therapist here asked me why I targeted you specifically. And at first I said I didn't know, but that was a lie. Jessica's voice shook. I targeted you because you had something I wanted. Not the things, not the mirror or the china or the bed. You had David's love, real love, unconditional love, and I was jealous. David made a sound. Small, hurt. I thought if I took your things, I could take your place, Jessica continued. If I had the grandmother's mirror, maybe I'd feel like family. If I had the mother's china, maybe I'd feel like a real wife, a real daughter-in-law. But it didn't work. I just kept taking, and I still felt empty. Tears were streaming down her face now. And the bed, God. The bed was the worst. Because you posted that picture and you looked so happy, so proud. And I hated it. I hated that you could be happy with so little when I had so much, and I was miserable. So I took it. I convinced David to take it, and I thought it would make me feel better. Did it? I asked quietly. Jessica looked at me. No. It made me feel worse, because that night, when we got it home, I lay on it, and all I could think was, this isn't mine. This will never be mine. And then I found the letter. She pulled an envelope from her pocket. My husband's letter, wrinkled now, worn from being read too many times. I've read this every day since I got here, Jessica said. Every single day. And you know what I realized? What? David asked, his first words since sitting down. That this letter wasn't about the money or the test. It was about love. About your dad loving your mom so much that he wanted to protect her, even after death. Even knowing it might hurt you. Jessica looked at David. That's the kind of love I want, the kind that protects instead of takes, and I don't know if I'm capable of it. Are you saying you want a divorce? David's voice was flat. I'm saying I want to be honest. For the first time in our marriage. Jessica turned to face him fully. I don't know if I love you the way you deserve to be loved. I don't know if I can be the wife you need. I just know that I want to try, really try, not perform trying, actually do the work. What does that look like? It looks like me getting my own therapist when I leave here. Going to meetings, staying on medication, living smaller, wanting less. Being grateful for what I have instead of always reaching for more. She paused. And it looks like giving you space, real space, to figure out if you even want me to try. The room was silent, except for the clock on the wall, ticking, measuring time. David looked at the therapist. Am I supposed to have an answer right now? No, the therapist said gently. This is just the beginning of a conversation, of a process, of both of you figuring out who you are separately before you can be together. How long does that take? As long as it takes. David laughed. It sounded broken. That's not helpful. I know. The therapist smiled sadly. But it's true. David stood up, walked to the window, looked out at the gardens. Jessica waited. I waited. We all waited. Finally, David turned around. I'll wait, he said. But not because I forgive you. Not because I trust you. Just because, he swallowed hard. Because my mom waited 14 years to see if I'd become someone worth giving that money to. And I failed that test. So maybe I owe it to both of us to see if you can pass yours. Jessica closed her eyes, relief washing over her face. Thank you, she whispered. Don't thank me yet. David's voice was hard. Because if you come out of here and you're the same person, if this was all just another show, I'm gone. For good. No second chances. No third chances. Just done. I understand. David looked at me. Can we go? I stood. Of course. We left Jessica there. In that room with the therapist and the tissues and the hope hanging in the air like smoke. In the car? David cried. Not loud. Just quiet tears running down his face while I drove. Did I do the right thing? He asked after a while. I don't know, I said honestly. But you did an honest thing. And sometimes that's all you can do. Dad would be disappointed. Your father, I said carefully, spent 14 years setting up an elaborate test because he was afraid. Afraid you weren't strong enough. Afraid he'd failed you. Afraid you'd be taken advantage of. I paused. But you know what I think? What? I think your father's test was never about the money. It was about him, his fear, his regret, his wish that he'd been different. What does that mean? It means you don't have to pass his test, David. You have to pass your own. I reached over, squeezed his hand. And right now, you're doing that, making hard choices. Being honest. Facing things instead of running. That's stronger than any test your father could have invented. David was quiet for a long time. Then, I love you, Mom. I love you too, baby. And Mom? Yeah? Thank you. For the bed, for the letter, for all of it, for showing me who I'd become. I smiled through my own tears. That's what mothers do. The call came 4 days later. Jessica was being released early. Good behavior. Exceptional progress, whatever that meant in therapy terms. David was at my apartment when his phone rang. We'd been going through old photo albums, him as a baby, him as a kid, me and his father, young and stupid and in love. He stared at his phone. It's the facility. Answer it. He did. Put it on speaker. Mr. Chen? This is Dr. Ramirez, Jessica's primary therapist. I'm calling to let you know Jessica will be discharged tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. David's face went carefully blank. She's only been there 28 days. You said 30. Yes. Well, Jessica has made remarkable progress. Her team feels she's ready to transition to outpatient care. A pause. She'd like to know if you'll be picking her up. David looked at me. I shrugged. This was his choice. I'll be there, he said finally. Wonderful. There's one more thing. Dr. Ramirez's voice changed. Got softer. Jessica has something she wants to share with you. Both of you, actually. She asked if your mother could come too. My mother? Yes. She says it's important, that you both need to hear it together. I shook my head. No. This was between them. But David was already saying, okay, we'll both be there. He hung up. David, I shouldn't. Please, Mom, I need you there. I can't. His voice cracked. I can't do this alone. So the next morning, we drove back. 2 hours north, same route. Different feeling. David's leg wasn't bouncing this time. His hands were still, calmer than before. Or maybe just resigned. What if she's still the same? He asked as we pulled into the parking lot. Then you'll know. And if she's different? Then you'll know that too. We went inside. Same kind woman at the desk, same comfortable waiting area. But this time, Jessica came out with a suitcase. Dressed in regular clothes, not designer, just normal jeans and a sweater. Her hair pulled back, minimal makeup. She looked at David first, then me. Thank you for coming, she said. Both of you. Dr. Ramirez said you had something to tell us, David said. Not unkind, just careful. I do. But not here. Jessica looked at the woman at the desk. Is the garden room available? For you? Always. Jessica led us through the facility, past group rooms and therapy offices, out to a glassed-in sunroom overlooking the gardens. The same gardens David had stared at 4 days ago. We sat, the three of us. A triangle of tension and history and hope. Jessica set down her suitcase, pulled out a notebook, the kind you buy at the dollar store, nothing fancy. They make you journal here, she said, every day, about your feelings, your triggers, your patterns. At first I hated it. I'm not a writer. I barely passed English in high school. She opened the notebook, but then I started writing to someone specific, and it got easier. Who? I asked. Jessica looked at me. Your husband, Henry. The name hung in the air. David sat forward. You wrote to my dad? Every day. Letters I knew he'd never read, but I needed to talk to someone who understood. She flipped through pages. Someone who'd done what I'd done, kept secrets, made mistakes, hurt the people he loved. My father never, David started. Your father hid $400,000 from everyone, Jessica interrupted. From his own wife. For years, while she struggled, while you struggled. He watched his family suffer because he was afraid. Afraid of what money would do. Afraid of being weak. Afraid his son wasn't strong enough. That's different. Is it? Jessica's voice was sharp, not angry, just honest. He manipulated both of you, set up tests and conditions and elaborate plans instead of just being honest, instead of just trusting you. I felt something cold in my chest. Jessica, I'm not attacking him, she said quickly. I'm just saying I understand him, because I'm like him. We both took the coward's way out. We both hurt people because we were too afraid to be vulnerable. She pulled a letter from the notebook. Not Henry's letter. A different one. I wrote this 3 days ago. For you. She handed it to me. Dr. Ramirez said I should read it out loud. But I can't. I tried this morning and I can't. So I'm giving it to you, and you can read it or throw it away or whatever you need to do. I took the letter, my hands shaking slightly. There's more, Jessica said. She turned to David. I called the lawyer, your dad's lawyer, Mr. Patterson. David went very still. Why? Because I had questions. About the trust, about the conditions, about what your dad really wanted. Jessica's voice got quieter. And he told me something neither of you know. What? David and I said it at the same time. Jessica pulled out another piece of paper. Official looking. Legal. This is an addendum to the trust. Written by your father 6 months before he died, before the cancer got bad, when he was still clear-headed. She handed it to David. Read the last paragraph. David read silently, his face going pale, then red, then pale again. What does it say? I asked. David's hands were shaking. In the event that my son passes the test, in the event that he shows strength, loyalty, and protection of his mother, 50% of the trust goes to him. The other 50% goes to my wife, with one condition. She must forgive him for any failures. She must release him from the burden of my expectations. She must allow him to be human. I couldn't breathe. There's more, David continued. And if my son fails the test, if he shows weakness, if he allows his mother to be mistreated, if he chooses comfort over character, then 100% goes to my wife, with the same condition. She must forgive him anyway. She must love him anyway. Because that is what love does. It forgives. It chooses mercy. And I hope, God help me, that someone forgives me too. Silence. Heavy. Crushing. He knew, I whispered. Henry knew he was being unfair. He knew, Jessica confirmed. Mr. Patterson said your husband came back 3 times to change the trust, each time adding more conditions, more tests. And the final time, he added this, the forgiveness clause. Why didn't Mr. Patterson tell us? David asked. Because your mother had to discover it herself. That was part of the trust too. She had to ask the right questions, had to dig deeper than the surface. Jessica looked at me. Have you? Have you read the entire trust? I thought about the folder Mr. Patterson had given me. The stack of legal papers. I'd read some of it, the main parts, the money distribution, the basic conditions. But all of it? No. I need to call him, I said. I need to. My phone rang. Mr. Patterson. Like he knew. I answered. Put it on speaker. Mrs. Chen. I was hoping you'd call soon, but since you haven't, I'm calling you. His voice was kind but firm. You've had the full trust documents for 2 years now, and you've only read about 60% of them. I read the important parts. Did you read page 47, section 12, the part titled, My Final Truth? I went cold. No. Then I'm emailing it to you right now. Read it, with your son present, and with Jessica, if she's there. She's here. Good. She should hear this too. He hung up. My phone buzzed. Email. Attachment. I opened it. A scanned document. My husband's handwriting. Shaky but legible. I read it out loud. To my wife, my love, my Margaret. If you're reading this, then enough time has passed. Enough pain has happened. Enough tests have been administered. And I need you to know the truth. My voice caught. David put his hand on my shoulder. Keep going, Mom. The money, all of it, was never really hidden. Not from you. I told you about it 2 days before I died. Do you remember? I gave you the account information, the passwords, everything. I told you it was yours. All of it. No conditions, no tests. Just yours. I stopped, stared at the page. Because I did remember. The hospital. 2 days before he died, him pressing a piece of paper into my hand. Emergency fund, he'd whispered, just in case. I'd thought it was a few $1,000s. Enough for funeral costs, immediate bills. I'd never checked. Never looked at the account. Just put the paper in the lockbox and tried to forget. But I also told you something else, I continued reading. I told you to test our son, to see what kind of man he'd become. To make sure he was strong enough, loyal enough, good enough. And you promised you would. You promised you'd make him prove himself. Tears were streaming down my face now. But here's what I need you to understand, my love. I was wrong. Wrong to ask you to test him. Wrong to make you carry that burden. Wrong to doubt our son. He is good. He is kind. He is exactly who we raised him to be. And if he fails, if he makes mistakes, if he chooses wrong, if he becomes someone you don't recognize, then that's not his failure. It's mine. For not teaching him better. For not showing him that strength comes from love, not fear. David was crying too now. So here's my real test. My final truth. The test isn't for David. It's for you. Can you forgive him? Can you forgive me? Can you let go of the expectations and the conditions and the elaborate plans I forced on you? Can you just love your son the way he is, broken and imperfect and human? I looked up. At David. At Jessica. Both of them watching me. Because if you can do that, if you can choose mercy over judgment, love over disappointment, then you've passed the only test that ever mattered. The test of being human, of being kind, of being better than I was. I love you, Margaret. I love our son. And I'm sorry for making both of you carry my fear. Forgive me, please, Henry. The room was silent except for the sound of 3 people crying. Finally, Jessica spoke. He was asking for forgiveness, she said softly. The whole time, the whole elaborate test. He was just asking if anyone would forgive him for being afraid. I looked at the letter in my hands. My husband's shaky handwriting. His final truth. He'd been dying. Scared. Trying to control everything because he couldn't control his own death. And he'd made us all play out his fear. I forgive him, I said quietly. Then louder. Henry, wherever you are, I forgive you. I looked at David. And I forgive you. For the bed. For Jessica. For all of it. You're not weak. You're not a failure. You're my son. And that's enough. David collapsed into my arms, sobbing. Like a child. I held him. Rocked him. Let him cry out years of trying to be perfect. Years of trying to pass a test that was never really his to pass. When he finally pulled back, he looked at Jessica. Did you know? He asked. About the forgiveness clause? Not until 3 days ago, when I called Mr. Patterson. Jessica wiped her eyes. That's why I wanted you both here, because I realized we all need to forgive each other. Your dad. You. Me. All of us have been carrying shame and fear and trying to be perfect. Are you asking me to forgive you? David asked carefully. No. I'm asking you to forgive yourself. For choosing me. For not protecting your mom better. For being human. Jessica stood up. And I'm telling you that I'm going to spend the rest of my life trying to deserve that forgiveness, whether you stay married to me or not. David looked at me. What do I do, Mom? And for once, I had an answer. You do what your father asked. You choose mercy. You choose love. You let go of perfect and embrace real. I smiled through my tears. You become the man you already are instead of the man you think you should be. David nodded slowly. Okay, I can do that. He stood up, walked to Jessica, and hugged her. Not romantic, not passionate, just human. 2 broken people choosing to be broken together. I looked down at my husband's letter. His final truth. And I whispered again, I forgive you, Henry. I forgive us all. 6 months later, I was sitting on my bed, really mine now, no ghosts attached when the doorbell rang. It was Sunday, family dinner night, a new tradition we'd started 3 months ago. I opened the door. David stood there with grocery bags, Jessica beside him with a pie, homemade, from the smell of it. We brought supplies, David said, kissing my cheek as he passed. And I tried a new recipe, Jessica added nervously. Apple cinnamon. I know it's your favorite. You didn't have to. I wanted to. She met my eyes. I'm trying to learn what people actually like instead of what I think they should like. They unpacked groceries in my kitchen, moving around each other carefully, still learning the dance of being together. They'd decided to stay married. Try again, but different this time. They'd sold the big house. Too much pressure, too much debt. Moved into a smaller place. 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom. A kitchen where you could touch both walls if you stretched out your arms. Jessica was working now. Part-time at Mrs. Kim's shop, actually. Alterations. She was terrible at it, but she was learning. And she was still in therapy. Twice a week, sometimes more when things got hard. David had changed jobs. Less money, better hours, more time to figure out who he was without the corporate ladder telling him. They were different, both of them. Not perfect, just different. "Mom, where's your good pot?" David called from the kitchen. "I don't have a good pot, just the one on the stove." "Then we're buying you a good pot." "David, I don't need a fount." "Mom," he appeared in the doorway, "let us buy you things, please. It's not charity, it's not guilt, it's just," he smiled, "it's just family." I nodded, swallowed the lump in my throat. Jessica was in my living room now, looking at the photos on the wall, the ones I'd finally put up. Me and Henry, me and baby David, family photos I'd kept in boxes for years. "You were so young," she said, touching the frame. "Both of you. 23 when we got married, 24 when David was born." "That's terrifying." It was. I stood beside her. We had no idea what we were doing. We just did it anyway. Jessica was quiet for a moment. Then, "The bed. Your bed? Do you ever regret fighting for it? Starting all of this?" I thought about it. Really thought about it. "No," I said finally, "because if I hadn't fought for that bed, I'd still be living small, still be afraid, still be waiting for permission to take up space in the world." Is that what the bed was? Permission? No. It was proof. Proof that I could save for something, work for something, earn something that was completely mine. I paused. Henry promised me a bed fit for a queen someday. But waiting for him to give it to me meant I never got it, so I gave it to myself. Jessica nodded slowly. I'm trying to do that now. Give things to myself instead of taking them from others. How's it going? Hard. Really hard. She touched another photo. Young David, maybe 5 years old, covered in mud and grinning. But I think it's working. Last week I wanted to buy a new purse. Designer. $800. And I almost did it. Old Jessica would have bought it without thinking. What did you do instead? Went to therapy. Talked about why I wanted it. What I thought it would give me. She smiled sadly. Turns out I wanted it because my coworker had one. And I wanted her to think I was successful, worthy, enough. And I bought a $30 bag at Target, and you know what? It holds my stuff just fine. I laughed. Actually laughed. What? Jessica looked confused. Nothing. Just I'm proud of you. For the Target bag. For trying. For being here. Her eyes got wet. Don't say that. You'll make me cry, and I promised myself I wouldn't cry today. Why not? Because I have something to tell you, both of you, and if I start crying I won't be able to get through it. David appeared with wine. Cheap wine. The kind I used to buy. We sat together, the three of us, on my couch that sagged in the middle, at my coffee table with the water stain I'd never been able to get out. So, Jessica started, looked at David. He nodded encouragingly. I've been saving money. From my job. Every paycheck, I put half in savings. That's good, I said. And I have something I want to do with it. But I need your permission first. My permission? Jessica pulled an envelope from her purse. Inside was a check, made out to me, for $15,000. Jessica, let me finish, please. She took a breath. This is the money I've saved, plus some money from selling my designer clothes and bags and shoes, all the things I don't need anymore. And I want to give it back to you. But you already returned everything, already paid for the damages. This isn't for the things I took. This is for the things I can't give back. The time, the peace, The years of you struggling while I was taking. Her voice shook. And I want you to use it for something specific. What? A trip. Somewhere you've always wanted to go. Somewhere Henry promised to take you but never did. Somewhere that's just for you. I stared at the check. $15,000. More money than Jessica probably had to her name. I can't accept this. You can. You have to. Because, Jessica looked at David. He took her hand. Because we're pregnant. The world stopped. What? I whispered. 10 weeks. We found out last month. We wanted to wait to tell you, to make sure everything was okay. Jessica's hand went to her stomach. And we want our child to know their grandmother. The real one. Not the version I created, the sad, struggling woman I could pity and steal from. But the real you, the strong one. The one who saved for 3 months to buy herself a bed. The one who fought back. The one who chose forgiveness, even when we didn't deserve it. Tears were streaming down my face. A baby. A baby, David confirmed. He was crying too. And Mom, we want to name her after you. If it's a girl, if that's okay. Her? We don't know yet. But I have this feeling. He touched Jessica's stomach. I think it's a girl. I couldn't speak. Could only cry and nod and hold out my arms. They came to me. Both of them. Kneeling in front of me. My son and his wife and the grandchild I'd never thought I'd have. So the trip, Jessica said through tears. Will you take it? Will you use the money to do something for yourself? I thought about it. About all the places I'd never been. All the things I'd never done. All the years I'd spent making myself smaller so others could be bigger. Yes, I said. Yes, I'll take the trip. Where will you go? David asked. I smiled. I don't know yet, but I'll figure it out. We cooked dinner together. The 3 of us crowded in my tiny kitchen, bumping into each other, laughing, arguing about whether the pasta was done. Normal things, family things. After dinner, after Jessica's pie, which was delicious, after the dishes were done, David took out his phone. I want to show you something, he said. He pulled up a video, a recording of the facility, Jessica in group therapy. She asked them to record this, David explained, so I could see, so you could see. On the screen, Jessica was talking, no makeup, hair messy, looking exhausted and real. I stole from my mother-in-law. Video, Jessica was saying. For years, and I told myself it was okay because she wasn't using the things, because I'd take better care of them, because I deserved nice things. The group was listening, silent, attentive. But the truth is, I stole from her because she had something I wanted, not things, love. She had her son's unconditional love, and I was jealous, so I tried to take that too. A woman in the group asked, "And now? How do you feel now?" Ashamed, grateful, confused. Video, Jessica wiped her eyes. My mother-in-law could have destroyed me, could have told my husband to leave, could have kept that money and left us with nothing. But she didn't. She gave me a chance, gave me money for treatment, gave me forgiveness I didn't earn. Why do you think she did that? Because she's stronger than me. Because she knows what it's like to be broken. Because, Video, Jessica's voice broke. Because that's what real love does. It gives chances. Even when people don't deserve them. David stopped the video. We sat in silence for a moment. She's trying, he said quietly. Really trying. I know. Do you think she'll make it? Long term? I looked at Jessica. Real Jessica. Sitting on my couch, hand on her belly, eyes full of hope and fear. I think she'll keep trying, I said. And that's all any of us can do. Later, after they left, I lay on my bed. The bed that started everything. The bed that ended everything. The bed that became a symbol of so much more than furniture. I ran my hand along the carved bedpost, found the hidden compartment, pressed it open. Empty now. No letters, no secrets, no tests. Just space. Just possibility. My phone buzzed. A text from David. Thank you for dinner. Thank you for everything. Love you, Mom. Then another from Jessica. Thank you for giving me a chance to be better. I won't waste it, Jay. I smiled, set down my phone, and thought about Henry, about his letter, about his final truth. He'd asked me to forgive, to choose mercy, to let go of expectations and embrace human imperfection. And I had. Not because he'd asked, not because it was a test, but because holding on to anger was exhausting. Because forgiveness, real forgiveness, wasn't about them deserving it. It was about me choosing peace. I looked at the check on my nightstand. $15,000 for a trip, for myself. Where would I go? Maybe Paris. Henry had always talked about Paris. Or maybe somewhere completely new, somewhere he'd never mentioned, somewhere that was just mine. I picked up my phone, opened the browser, started searching. And for the first time in years, maybe in my whole life, I wasn't searching for the cheapest option, wasn't looking at prices first. I was looking at places that made me feel something, places that called to me, places that promised adventure and beauty and life. I found one, a small town in Italy, coastal, beautiful, expensive. Old me would have closed the browser, would have told herself she didn't deserve it, would have saved the money for emergencies that might never come. But new me, the me who'd fought for her bed, who'd tested her son, who'd chosen forgiveness, even when it hurt, she clicked book now. She chose herself. She took up space in the world. And she didn't apologize for it. I lay back on my bed, my beautiful, hard-won, completely mine bed. And I thought about the baby coming. The grandchild who would know me as I really was. Strong, flawed, human, real. Who would grow up hearing the story of the bed, of the test, of the forgiveness. Who would learn that love isn't about being perfect. It's about being honest, about fighting for yourself, about choosing mercy even when it's hard. I closed my eyes, and for the first time since Henry died, I felt him, really felt him. Not as a ghost, not as a test, not as a burden of expectations, just as a memory, a good one, of a man who loved me imperfectly, who made mistakes, who asked for forgiveness in the only way he knew how. I forgive you, Henry, I whispered one last time, and I forgive myself too. Outside, the sun was setting, orange light spilling across my bedroom, across my bed. The bed that had cost me 3 months of sacrifice. The bed that had revealed the truth about my family. The bed that had taught me I was worth fighting for. I ran my hand across the duvet one more time, and smiled. Because this bed, this beautiful, expensive, completely unnecessary bed, had given me more than comfort. It had given me back myself, and that was worth everything.